Avowed looks like Starfield 2.0.
Every time a game gets delayed, it seems that they get further away from their initial vision. And while there are a lot of titles that have released over the past few years that
She
have
got the
pushed
PS5 Pro? For what?
identity politics, that have chosen body types A and B or 1 and 2, that have added pronouns to games, it seems that Xbox's upcoming first-person fantasy RPG Avowed is going to do the same exact thing. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, I can't say I'm very shocked to hear that developers are going out of their way to add things like pronouns to their games. Absolutely pointless additions. You should just have a male and a female. It should be that simple. But now, developer
Obviously.
Obsidian Entertainment and publisher Xbox Game Studios' upcoming first-person fantasy RPG Avowed will feature pronouns. Now, this is happening a lot in video games right now when companies are making games and they're focused more on providing identity politics than a genuinely amazing high quality experience. Look at Dragon Age the Veilguard. The character creator was Mental Illness Simulator.
To be fair, the character creator was really good. It was a really good character creator. Like, yeah, you could say, like, they shouldn't have, like, the top surgery thing was stupid. Yeah, definitely. But, like, it was a good character creator.
To choose pronouns, you
was
could
my
add
opinion.
top surgery scars when you got in the game. You add characters like...
Is creating more genders really that bothersome? Yeah, I think it is for a lot of people. The reason why they find it bothersome, the reason why people think it's bothersome, is because if you don't acknowledge the existence of it, then these people try to systematically destroy your life. So it's not like these people are okay doing this in their own corner. They want to go and put this in your life too. That's the issue.
Who were not really characters that were well written. They simply existed in order to push a specific narrative, to add terms like non-binary into the game, which is absurd. I don't want modern terminology in my video games, especially when we're talking about a dragon.
I think this is all whitewashing. I think people just don't want modern terminology, period, because they think it's bullshit. It might not be you know, the Overton window might not have shifted enough to where people can say that, but that's what they believe. They don't want to see it anywhere.
Fantasy game. I don't want to hear about transgender, non-binary. I shouldn't have to pick my pronouns, but we're seeing on character sheets that yes, characters do feature, at least in this menu, pronouns. The inclusion of pronouns into the game was discovered after YouTuber Force Gaming shared an early review of the game after he was allowed to play around 20 hours of it. Now, first of all, as a content creator myself, I think that this is ridiculous. I do not think that it should be this way. Content creators, sure, could get early play testing if they are at some sort of event like a PAX, for example, and there are booths, but I do not think content creators should be able to get full access to a game, especially this early. It's not even releasing anytime soon, and it has been
I disagree with that. I think that content creators should receive whatever journalism outlets receive. So, like, if a journalism outlet receives this information, then a content creator should receive the similar information. But if you want to make the argument that it shouldn't be received to anybody or by anybody, that's fair. That's a fine argument. But personally, that's where I stand on it.
Multiple times, but during his review while discussing the leveling system, he showed off some of the game's menus where it clearly identifies his character with he, him pronouns. So it looks pretty standard. There's an abilities, character, inventory, journal, and map tabs, but it says that he is a level 6. It shows the experience needed for the next level, war hero, and then he/him. And you would imagine that if they are including pronouns, there's not just going to be he/him and she/her. There's most likely also going to be a
Yeah.
they/them, and who knows what else they're going to add to this. Now, I have to be honest, I think that this game looks really rough around the edges, judging by the more
I haven't seen the
recent
game. I don't know about this game at
gameplay,
all.
trailers, and teasers that we've seen. It really does not look like a super high quality experience. Now, because it is Obsidian, I have higher expectations, but their last giant release, The Outer Worlds, wasn't my favorite game either. I felt that
I thought a lot of people liked Outer Worlds. I remember, yeah, I feel like a lot of people did.
Okay, I didn't think that it was terrible, don't get me wrong. I just felt like it was quite an underwhelming experience, and it truly did not do anything super unique that we hadn't seen in a game before. And Avowed, to me, looks similar to something like Skyrim in terms of the magic system and the first-person combat, but I just don't think that it looks like a super high-quality experience. Maybe once it comes out, the pronouns really won't matter, and it will be an absolutely fantastic video game.
Yeah, this is always the case, is that I talk about like what my opinion is about like the pronouns thing at the end of the video, because like I'm just kind of waiting to get all the information. But I don't think that introducing pronouns or even having non-binary characters or anything like that, I don't think that's really going to cause people to not play a video game. But the fact is that a lot of times video games that use that kind of stuff are not very good because they're made to push an ideology rather than to be a good game. So, like, it's like woke stuff doesn't make a good game bad, but it can make a bad game worse.
So, seeing this already is pretty worrying because this is the direction that the mainstream industry has headed in over the past couple of years, pushing things like gender ideology when people just want really great, high quality experiences. But to top that off, we never had heard anything like this was going to be featured in the game, though now it is, and it's a little bit suspicious because Microsoft, Xbox Game Studios' parent company, obviously, has made it abundantly clear it wants to normalize this. The company released its Gaming for Everyone's product inclusion framework earlier this year, where it instructs developers to answer a set of questions. Some of these questions include, what steps have you taken to ensure characters are represented respectfully?
Gaming for Everyone's product inclusion framework, where it instructs developers to answer a set of questions. So it's having developers answer these questions. Are you unnecessarily introducing gender and gender barriers into your code or design? Do they have exaggerated body proportions?
Authentically, are you reinforcing any negative gender stereotypes?
Stupid.
Are you unnecessarily...
No, it is stupid, and this is why I think a lot of Western games are becoming less popular. It's because this should not even be inside of the conversation. Like, negative gender stereotypes are... This is a subjective opinion, right? There are a lot of gender stereotypes that exist because they're true. And I think that games that try to actively go against those stereotypes and those, like, that just, like, acknowledged common sense reality, people aren't going to like those games because those games are actively fighting against reality. Putting pronouns doesn't affect gameplay. You're right that it doesn't affect gameplay. That's true. Like, obviously it doesn't affect gameplay.
Introducing gender and gender barriers into your code or design? Are you creating playable female characters that are equal in skill and ability to their male peers? Are your female characters equipped with clothing and armor that's realistic, that fits their tasks? Do they have exaggerated body proportions? When the
Yeah.
story allows, do you show male characters who display a full range of emotions, including joy, sadness, and vulnerability, which is
Hmm.
absolutely fucking ridiculous. Developers should not need companies to hold their hands. If a developer and a team of creatives make something that they feel confident in, that should be the end of the story. But because Microsoft decided to release this inclusion framework earlier this year, it's led a lot of people to question, what were the games like before developers actually had to take these?
Well, we know what they were like. It's Stellar Blade. You just look at games from 10 years ago. That's what they were like. Or 15 years ago. It's very simple. I mean, it's not even a question.
Pieces of information, these rules, into consideration. I personally hate hearing this, that developers cannot tell the story they want because they are being controlled by their parent companies and by higher
Yeah, of
ups
course.
at companies. If a developer feels confident in the content that they've made, that should be at the end of the story. That should be what
This
they're
happens everywhere,
releasing.
too.
And that's just not the state of the industry currently. So, like I said, take all of this with a grain of salt, but be mindful of the fact that there are pronouns on character tabs and character sheets, and one would assume if there's he/him, there's going to be she/her and they/them. Otherwise, if there was two options, why would you even add them in the first place? And that also
Who
means that it
knows?
could seep into the gameplay itself, that there could be very annoying characters who only exist to push a specific narrative, like Tosh, for example. Who doesn't want a Tosh in their game? These devs will ask, and then we will cringe visibly because
I
that's the
hope
way
so.
that they think. Why
That'll
not
be
add
great
one or two
content for me.
characters that are extremely annoying? So, like I usually say, do not pre-order. Wait until the game has released, or you've heard reviews release from your favorite content creators. Even if you still trust Access Media, if you have a YouTuber that you really like,
Yeah.
maybe an ex-user who does reviews, wait until the game is fully released to decide whether or not you want to purchase this. And hey, while I've loved some of the games Obsidian has made in the past, I'm staying very skeptical just because of the state of the industry. So I will be keeping my eye
Yeah,
on
I'm gonna be real. If I see pronouns or any of the other kind of fucking gender weird stuff, anything like that, I immediately assume the game's gonna be bad. I do, because it's a focus on something that's not gameplay, and if I see it in the game, I assume that the person that's trying to change the narrative of the game probably cares more about that than the game itself. There are cases where that's not true, right? How? Well, basically because I think that a lot of people try to use media as a vehicle to push a worldview. And I think that if you're using media as a vehicle to push a worldview, you probably don't care about the media that much. You don't care about the intrinsic value of the media. You care about what the ends, the means to the ends of the media is, right? So it's like, what can this media achieve, rather than what is this media? So that's why I don't trust any of this stuff. We're talking about video games? Well, if we're talking, well, why do you think they do it then? Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You see kind of like what my point is here? Like, why do they do it?
the situation. If there are any updates, of course, I will post them on social media or make a follow-up video. But for now, that's all that I really had to discuss. If you enjoyed this, make sure to give it a like. And if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people probably, like, pronouns are probably the most like split issue with a lot of people, where some people are, I'll link you guys the video. Some people are okay with it. A lot of people don't really care about pronouns. I view pronouns as a very soft form of messaging where it's very easy to kind of get people to, accept pronouns. and it's a way to introduce a type of like gender like ideology into a game in a way that kind of makes sense and is very hard to attack. The body type thing is worse. Yeah, I think that the body type thing is a lot worse. But I do think that if a lot of people don't like pronouns, if you don't like seeing pronouns in your games, then don't buy the game. It's that simple. It's a canary in a coal mine. Yeah, I think so too. I think that's what's happening. And why do you even care? That's exactly it. Well, the thing is that why do you even care can be, and this is like, I love this argument, because how is it that the people that are criticizing the thing are the ones who are seen as ridiculous for caring, but not the people that took time out of their day and spent time and work in order to code it into the game? How is it that like the people that, and you know, proportionally, right? It took probably way more time and effort to code something like this and put something like this into the game than somebody saying, I don't like this. It's super simple. It's trivial to code. Yeah, but it's even more trivial to complain about. And so what I'm saying, it took them 10 minutes. Yeah, it took me 5 seconds to complain. And so what I'm saying is that why would you put that into the game? Why would you add this into the game? I think that really, if you're complaining about it being added into the game, I think that's totally fair, because it's like, well, they clearly added it into the game for a reason. Like, it's been added into the game for a reason, for a goal. And I think that people, like human beings, are very good at pattern recognition. And I think that a lot of people notice that, like, you know, what is this with, like, you know, these games that are like forcing these pronouns and then having other problems that follow that afterwards. And I think that's what's happening to normalize it. Yeah. And I think that that's really the messaging. That's why people tried. And also, and you saw this originally with like pronouns on Twitter, where when a lot of people start adding pronouns, then it becomes the people that don't have pronouns are making a statement for it. So it's a way to create a social pressure to use this type of language. It's like because the best type of compelled speech is the type of compelled speech that doesn't come from the top down, excuse me. It comes from other people around you, right? And so I think that you're trying to force a new normal. Exactly. And so that's why I think people don't like the pronoun stuff, is they view that. I don't think people really have a problem with the pronoun stuff. Top dog, yeah, sure, right? I was playing Dynasty Warriors yesterday. I couldn't stop. And anyway, basically, like, they view it as like kind of a Trojan horse for other types of ideology, like, you know, non-gender, like gender binary, like non-gender binary people, etc. They use it as like a Trojan horse for that. I think that just based off of, do people have a problem with pronouns or not? I think the answer is, for the majority of people, no. But the reason why people do have a problem for it is because, like, you know, where there's smoke, there's fire. And I think that's basically where people's frustration with pronouns comes from. It's from that disconnect there. Ideology is a chain to artistic freedom. Yeah, but I'm just saying that's what I think. You'll obviously be referred to as the pronoun that most fits your appearance at first glance by anyone that you don't know well. It would be abnormal for most interactions to even know your abnormal pronoun. Well, there'd be no way for them to know that, right? And so that's it. I'll read a few comments and move this back. AOC walked back on it. It's a losing war for them. I think that people are just tired of acknowledging things that they believe to be untrue. And I think that a lot of people, I'm just going to be honest, I think that most people probably believe that there's two genders and that's it. And people might be willing to, like, not be assholes about it, but if you ask them what their actual opinion is, I bet it's like 80 or 90% of people think there's two genders. Now, on social media, this is like an opinion that nobody has, right? Or at least like all the people that do have it are wrong. But I think that the truth is, like, most people think like this. That's it. And because there is no, I don't want to argue with you guys and fight with people about this and be like, oh no, this is different. There's intersex people. I'm not going to get into it. All I'm saying is that it's very obvious that there's a massive cultural pushback for this. And the cultural pushback, I think, is going really far by people not even wanting pronouns in the game. And in my opinion is that whenever you make a circus, don't be surprised when people behave like clowns. When you have Dragon Age Veilguard, a game with fantasy shapeshifting that adds top scars as a direct reference to current contemporary trans surgery, you can't be surprised when people get frustrated about everything that that has to do with. So, yeah, classic circus analogy. Yeah, but like that's the thing, right? Is like if you introduce this stuff, that's what it's going to be. Don't add cringe changes to games. That's what I'm asking. And the other thing too is that I think that a lot of people view it as like a escapism thing, where if they see something like this in a game, they realize that they're playing a game that exists inside of a worldview that they find weird or uncomfortable. So if enough people think that, then it becomes true. And I think that's really what it is. You can see how the headline is overly inflammatory. Oh yeah, of course it is. But I'm just saying, like, I'm not making the headline, I'm talking about it. It's straight up unimmersive. Yeah, exactly. And people view it as social, and it is social politics. Like, pronouns absolutely are social politics. 100%. Yeah, of course. That's the point. I play games to escape from reality, not live another life with the same reality. Yeah. The issue is the forceful push from it. Yeah. I think that's why people are pushing back so much about it. It's completely true because they're not making money on these games. Well, we'll see what happens. I don't know if this game's going to be good or not, but I'm just saying, like, that's what I think, right? Who knows whether it's going to be good.